Good afternoon, lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you're well. Welcome back to this beautiful summer's day that is a continuation of the last video when you saw me putting up my net tunnels and doing some tidying and generally just going a little bit slowly and making the most of this gorgeous day. I've had a little bit of a break. I was going to have a nap. I did mention I was going to have a nap. I decided against it in the end because I thought actually the way I feel at the moment I'd probably end up falling asleep for 5 or 6 hours. Excuse me. Yeah, wake up in the shed 7 o'clock tonight. I haven't got time for that kind of length of nap. I certainly got time to get on with a few more bits and pieces this afternoon. So for the most part this afternoon it's going to be about a bit of harvesting, but I want to show you a few bits and bobs around the garden because I think all that rain at the beginning of August did things the world of good. Having said that, the garden is pretty much bone dry in a lot of places today, so I do need to water later on, and I need to remember water the compost bin. I have added quite a bit more green stuff to it this morning and given it a bit of a mix up, but I'm definitely going to stay on top of adding water. I think I was mentioning it in comments and replying to people that actually both those bins historically they've produced perfectly good compost for me. I'm just trying to think back to last summer when we had the drought. Actually, I don't think I went into the compost bin until, oh gosh, way into November when I was covering the beds. Anyway, the point is, they've always worked for me in the past. It's just this year, I've taken my eye off the ball. When I've been adding stuff each time and it's sort of full to the brim and the next time I go back it's all sunk, I've just assumed it's been composting down. What I didn't realise was it was just drying to a crisp and dusting down. So yeah, I'll definitely be more on the ball with that, not just now but definitely next summer. Keep it moist, add water, take the lid off if we're going to have a rain day, keep mixing it, keep sort of turning the sides into the middle and what have you. Anyway, how did I get onto that? I digress. Oh yeah, because I need to water the garden, but remember to water the compost bin. So, just like in the previous video, that annoying noise in the background is carrying on. There's obviously quite a lot of tree surgery going on in someone's garden. It's funny, isn't it? It's a noise that, well, it's incredibly irritating, a chainsaw noise. But also for me, I always find it a bit sad to think that a tree is being taken down. Now I know that, you know, around here there are a lot of really, really mature trees, you know, well over 100 years old. And sometimes trees become diseased and then they're not safe to stay standing. So I just clobbered you. So they do need to come down. Sometimes it's just a case of the trees need pollarding, but because it's the length of time this has been going on, I think it's a whole tree is being taken down, which it's just sad, isn't it? I hope they'll plant another one to replace it. Anyway, so I'm just letting you know that noise is continuing. We will just try our best to ignore it and keep our little holiday in the garden frame of mind going. Come on, let me go and show you some things. So my first bit of excitement is in here. Let's see if I can just gingerly tiptoe. It's all getting a bit busy and cramped in here. Where did I see it? I've seen... Oh, hang on, let me step right over. Oh, there it is. Look, finally, that's a Waltham butternut developing. My goodness, it's taken its time, hasn't it? I haven't really managed to have a look under all the rest yet, but quick glance, I actually don't see any others. It's really odd. I know quite a few people, let's just step out of that bed. there's quite a few people who have planted Walthams this year who've had nothing either. And I think we've all used different seed companies. So I don't think it's like one seed company have had a hinky batch. Maybe the seed companies all had it from the same place in the first place. I don't know. Oh, and there's another teeny tiny little baby. So what I would say, hurrah, being rather dwarfed in the back by that's a cream of the crop, I think. Yeah, if you're growing Walthams as well, please don't despair. You may still end up with one. But that's, oh my goodness, if I only get 2 butternuts out of, what was it, 8 plants, I should be a bit miffed. Never mind, thank goodness all the other squash are doing okay. On to other happy stuff. Do you see what I see? Yay! I finally have some lovely red tomatoes. Oh my goodness. So I took photos of these a couple of days ago. I decided I wouldn't pick at that point because I had a ton of food in the house anyway. Oh, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh, these ones are gorgeous. Yeah, I decided not to pick them and I thought, oh, I'll just let them get way more red on the vine. These are beauties. So after all this waiting and despairing, finally I am going to have my first fresh tomato in nearly a year. God, look at the colour of this one. That one, that you're coming off and going in my mouth, as is your little friend over here. Beautiful. They will be gorgeous because they will be warm from the sun. I absolutely cannot wait to get my chops around them, but more of that later. Cheerio, Rusty, go and find some shade. Are you hot, buddy? Are you hot? I'm trying to not show you his back end. Ah, speaking of back end, let me show you something else that has been making me giggle like a pathetic juvenile school girl for ages. Now, if you're of a delicate or prudish disposition, look away now, because what I'm about to show you, well, apparently I'm growing a crop of mini willies this year. Oh, it's hard to get the camera in here. Let me show you. Look, it's my first loofahs are forming. There's one. There's another. But then let me just come around this side of the pole. Here we come. Oopla. Right at the top. Look at this little cluster of them. I'm growing miniature willies. Oh my goodness, yes. I've been giggling about these for the last 2 days. I know, it's pathetic. So what I think is, it's far too late for them to come to maturity to a size that will enable me to then dry them and use them as sponges, scourers, which is what I wanted to do. But they may yet come to a size enough that I can eat them, because you can eat the loofah gourds when they are immature. We'll see. So, right, the prudish can look back. That's the end of the miniature willies. Where are we going next? Yes, we're going to go into... shall we use this path? Yes, let's try and wade through here. Because I'm going to talk more about this in a second. We're coming through to... Oh, look at these. These are the gigantes. And you can see now... I've just got beans dripping, dripping from everywhere. Can you see all through the arch there? Dripping, gorgeous. But what I wanted to talk about today is we're getting to that time to just keep an eye on the beans in terms of harvesting. So these are the Coco Sophie. Now they started this quite sort of limey green, and they're gradually getting into this sort of creamish colour. And you can see... Hopefully you can see from the side. Oh, this one might be a bit more obvious. So you've got shadows, a go-go. You can see how the beans are swelling up. Now, with the Coco Sophie, just like the Coco de Pampol, I do not want this bean as a dry bean. I want to harvest it demi-sec, half dry. So I want to harvest these when they're at their plumpest, but before they start to dry. They'll go in the freezer. Right, let me get my harvesting bowl and we'll talk a bit more about this as I pick. Oh, what a lovely spot this is, in the dappled shade. I know I'm probably not very well lit. I don't care, it's a lovely, lovely little bit of light play. Okay, so I'm with my gigantes. I'm on the floor, here's the soil. So, if you remember back in, I don't know when it was, maybe the beginning of July, beginning of August, I was talking about the ones at the bottom I leave for drying, pick the ones at the top. Of course, I had it the wrong way round. The ones at the bottom are the ones that came first, so they're the more mature. The ones way up at the top, oh, it's so bright and beautiful. Obviously the ones way up at the top are much smaller, much more immature. So I like to keep my bean harvest, or I like to store my bean harvest both as a freezer product and dry. I'm kind of hedging my bets that way. That one or the other of the stored harvests ought to survive me the winter. So if my freezer breaks down, I've got the dry ones. If the dry ones end up all weevily, which they shouldn't, because I'll be giving them the Coanga 3-day freezer jobby. Anyway, the other reason for doing half of them dry and half of them frozen means that on those occasions where I suddenly think, oh, I just want a really quick meal, I definitely don't have time to do an overnight soak or a 2.5 hour boil, because they're such big beasties, they need such a long boil. It's really handy to have some in the freezer, because I can just whip them out, you know, boil them up in 15 minutes or so, depending on their size, and I'm ready to go. So, how do you know when to harvest? Well, I'm going to try and find a suitable one. Basically, I'm looking at how fat the bean is within the pod. So just like I was showing you with the Coco Sophie, so you can see that, look, they're really, really fat. Now, they'll look considerably less fat when I get them out, obviously, because the pod is making some of that fatness. The ones I save, oh, I'm just reaching at that one looks gorgeous, come to mama. Oh, plat, I want that one off. The ones I save demi-sec, they're always going to be a bit smaller than the ones I save dried, because the ones that I save for dried stay on the vine much, much longer. They've got longer to get fat. But just as I was mentioning about keeping an eye on your beans, it's one of those things, if I leave these and wait for them to get fatter and fatter and fatter, it will be sod's law that, oh, something will come up, I'll be busy, I won't have time to pick, and the next thing you know, they'll all be dry. So that's why I've decided to go with picking them today. So I'm just going to open this pod for you to see. Sorry, I know the light is a bit awkward, but oh, wow, four in this one. Never get 4. Most gigantes will have 2 in, occasionally just 1, quite often 3, hardly ever 4. But look at them, look at the size, and aren't they beauties, absolute beauties. So, excuse me, like I say, it's well worth keeping a really close eye on all your beans now. For instance, if you've got runner beans, the thing with runner beans is it's really hard to stay on top of picking and eating them, isn't it? And you leave them even 2 days too long and suddenly they're really tough and gnarly and hideous. And I know so many folk end up chucking them into the compost bin. So that's my next pick. Oh, shade, there we go. So 2 of decent size, 1 little baby. Yeah, with the runner beans, I know people end up chucking them in the compost bin because they're so big and tough and gnarly. Don't chuck them in the compost bin. Pod them, freeze the beans. Now with these, I don't even bother blanching them. I just chuck them straight in the freezer because frankly, I'll be using them, within the next 8-9 months or so. Blanching look, if you're going to keep something for longer than 6 months, you ought to blanch it. But these won't last that long. But yeah, so like I said, with the runner beans, pod them and freeze the beans. The beans are gorgeous. And I'm pretty sure I did a video on freezing my runner beans and talking in general about harvesting things demi-sec. So yeah, I've got a fair bit of picking to do. I've got a fair bit of squeezing then picking to do. What a joy, what an absolute joy. It's these moments in the year when all that hard work is finally paying off. All that kind of worrying that, and I know I do it every year and I try and tell myself off for it and say don't do it next year, but any of you who've been watching long enough, oh, I just saw another one I want to pick. Yeah, anyone who's been watching me for long enough will know that every July I'm the same. Every July I panic that nothing's growing, that I'm not going to have any food. Look, if I was just doing this purely for pleasure, leisure, then maybe I wouldn't panic so much, but I do it for food. But yeah, every July, that's another with 4. Look at that, aren't they beautiful? So look, I've just picked 3 pods. Oh, let me find a shade to put it, there we go. That is just 3 pods. That's a meal from 3 pods. Yes, I keep digressing. I'm getting excited about my beans. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, I know that I worry every July. Stop worrying, Vivi. Just have a bit of faith. Have a bit of confidence in yourself and your soil. And enjoy this moment every year when it's all about to get really crazy in the harvesting, processing department. If you think this is just the beginning, it's all these beans, myriad beans, all the tomatoes, I'm going to be bottling till midnight, well I hope so. Then all the squash will be revealed in September. There's still loads of stuff to pick fresh as well. Oh, actually, let me show you the chickpeas, because the light is perfect for showing you today, and I'll pod one so you can see how they are when they're still green. Yummy, yummy little snack. Now I'm in a really awkward position, so excuse my huffing and puffing, but today, with this bright light, is one of the perfect kind of days for looking to see if you've got a chickpea ready to nick. As the sun shines through it, you can see the pea inside just forming. And then if we go further down, oopla, will we get enough light down here? I now can't see anything because I've got my face in a chickpea plant. Oh, sorry, hold on. Can you see? Oh, that one looks like it's big enough to scoff. Let's have that one off and I'll show you the content. I thought it might actually be easier to show you in the shed. Oh, they're going to tip over. Just because it's so bright outside, it's really hard to get things right. Oh, sorry, I started without you. You heard that pop. I'll show you on another one. So when they're at this green stage, they pop open so easily, and then what's revealed? There it is. They look like a little green brain. Look at that, or a megalodon's tooth. Such a gorgeous snack. Actually, I could just literally sit in that whole bed of chickpeas now and go through them. But yeah, like I say, so I'll show you. Just give it a squeeze. It should pop. Oh, it doesn't want to pop. Oh, there we go, pop. Once you start, you can't stop. You know that whole popping thing. Oh, it's got 2. Look, it's a 2er. Can you see that? Ah, oh, I love it when it's a 2er. Yeah, so happy scoffing to me. They're so yummy. Sorry, mouthful. Oh, they're so gorgeous. Now, what I'm in half a mind to do, they're not for you, Poppy, no. They're Vivi's, all Vivi's. Oh, this is another 2er. Am I going to have tons of 2ers this year? Part of me was thinking, excuse me, sorry, that because of the mice fiasco, not last year, the year before, so this is my 4th year growing chickpeas. Year 1, brilliant, fantastic germination, fantastic harvest, masses. Year 2, quite good germination, yeah, pretty good germination. Came to harvest them and they were all empty, all these little shells all over the floor. They'd been absolutely decimated by the mice. I think I managed to harvest enough in the end for seed saving. Maybe 1 meal for me. Last year, really rubbish germination. So I think I ended up with, I don't know, 10, 15 plants. And I was so nervous with the mice issue that about, I would say 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the plants, I harvested them green and froze them. Well, the ones I didn't eat. The problem with popping them is, because it takes quite a while, you pop one, you stuff your mouth, you pop another. By the time you've popped your second one, you've forgotten that you ate the first one. Anyway, long and short was, I harvested the vast majority of them green last year. But the only thing with that is, of course, it uses up freezer space. And the freezers, even though I've got 3 freezers, it gets pretty packed. But what I'm thinking this year is, even though I had poorish, yeah, quite poor germination, I think in the end I counted 40 plants, having sown about 100 seeds. However, all of those plants have got really quite big this year, and there are masses and masses of pods on them. So I think, all things being equal, I'm going to actually have a better harvest than I've had since that very first year when I did them. Now the question is, do I harvest them green and freeze them, or do I risk it, let them dry on the plants and risk the mice having them? Half and half. Oh, the green ones are so lovely. I am tempted to harvest them all green. But then I'll eat half of them before they even get home. Oh, anyway, I'll have a think on it. Just showing you that one sort of branch, as it were. You can see there. I'm sorry, I've got a bit of it stuck in my throat. There's a bit. Poppy, don't get up there. Oh, Poppy. You can see that there's probably a good 20 pods on each little strand, as it were. But I would say only the first sort of 4 or 5 are anywhere near mature enough to pick. So I think that might be my plan over the next couple of days, is to go through all of them and say pick off the first sort of 4 or 5 and at least get those harvested, and then I can decide about the rest as the next couple of weeks go on. Crazy harvesting podding time, love it. Right, let's get back into the garden because there's something else I want to pick. This is one of the moments I have been longing for and dreaming about for nearly a year. The first fresh tomatoes. Oh, have a moment, have a moment. Oh, sun warm. Oh, gorgeous. Now, I know the vast majority of you already grow your own tomatoes and you will know what this moment is like. For those of you who've never grown tomatoes before and are either thinking about doing it for the first time this winter, if you're a Southern Hemisphere person, or for the first time next year, when you come to pick them, couldn't be easier. There's like a little, where the plant is joining its vine there's like a little knuckle. If you just push on that knuckle, the whole tomato comes off in one go, just like that, easy peasy. I actually like to leave my my stalky bits on until I get home and process them. I just feel like it's going to keep them fresher for longer. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I tend to do. Leave that little stalky bit on. Now, you might be thinking, why is she not popping one in her mouth straight away? Oh, these are so red. Look how red. Oh, the light's terrible today, isn't it? Let's find some light to show. Oh, there we go, glowing in the light. Why am I not popping these in my mouth straight away? I'm delaying my gratification momentarily because there's something else I want to eat with them that's on the other side of this bed. So come on, let's get picking. Of course, I want a cucumber. Which one, which one, which one? How about you? Maybe. I'm going to be so fussy. That one, you're seed saving. Oh, yeah. You're a good one. Bit of an odd shape, but you will definitely do. Scrumdiddly. Well, of course, it has to be my absolute favourite, my beloved Koriatiki. Yay, Greek salad. Oh my goodness. You know, does life get much better than this? Grab it off the plant in the garden. Do you know what? I haven't even washed my hands. I don't care. Gotta get eating. Yeah, straight off the plants. Straight into the kitchen. In this case, my shed. Oh my goodness, the smell. It's driving me crazy. So I'm just kind of rough chopping. Yum, yum, yum. Chopping up my tomatoes and my cuke into nice little bite-sized pieces. This cuke is quite seedy. You see, it's quite seedy. I don't ever bother de-seeding. I don't take the skin off. Why would I want to chuck away all that loveliness? So in goes the cucumber. Oh, the smell of the cucumber. I mean, right now, I would have that as it is. Tomatoes and cucumber, they are a match made in heaven. But I'm going to make it a bit more heavenly, if that's possible. Let me just wipe my board a second. If that's possible, with the addition of one of my gorgeous red onions. I've just literally grabbed this off the drying rack. I've taken its outer dry crinkly shelves off. Shelves? Shell? Leaves, whatever you want to call them. I'm too excited. I've gone a bit doolally. So of course all this can now go straight back into the compost bin. Just get rid of the outside bits. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how ridiculously excited I am to get eating this. Oh, these onions smell beautiful. I do love the look of the colour as well. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at it, shining like a jewel. Oh, 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 hurry up, Vivi. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Yeah. This really is what life is all about. Everything's warm, even the onion. The onion feels warm. I just sprayed it with saliva. Did you see? I don't know if that picked up on camera, but I'm salivating so much. Oh my giddy goodness. So I did come prepared today. As I say, I was going to have this the other evening, but I didn't get back to the plot in time. I was a bit too busy. So I have come prepared today with a slab of feta, which is also feeling nice and warm already. Now staining it purple with the onion. Oh yeah, be generous with everything. You know, there's one thing in life we shouldn't skimp on, and that's our food. Oh. Can you tell I want to get stuck in? And then finally, well not quite finally, but I brought a handful of olives from home too. Chuck those in. I halve them just to make them go a bit further, because I like to have one in every bite. Oh my goodness, did I bring a fork? Oh yes, there's a fork in the shed. Good. See, that's why it's a great idea to have a few, you know, if you've got some rubbishy cutlery or bits and pieces at home, have them in your shed. Have them in your shed so that on days like this, you can just, excuse me, make yourself an impromptu lunch. Just a bit of olive oil. Oh yes, 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 yes. Oh my goodness, and there we go. Instant lunch. That was all growing 5 minutes ago, and now, never mind growing, it's going. Of course, the proof of any pudding is in the eating of it. I'm going to start with just a bit of tomato and the cucumber. I've made a generous portion for myself, haven't I? Let's have a go. It's been a year. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, I'm in heaven. Let's try a bit of the tomato now with a bit of the onion. Oh, God, that's a good combination. Oh, that's so good. Wow. Oh, the onion's got a really beautiful kick. Not too much. One of the reasons I grow the red is because they're not quite as strong as, say, whites or browns, so they're great for having raw. It's all worth it, isn't it? If you think of the hours and hours and hours of work that goes into the garden, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not for anything in the world. All those times in sort of like the late autumn or the early spring when I've in the past been digging quite so much. I won't be digging quite as much anymore, but all those days when it's cold and it's damp and the work is hard, physical work, it's back-breaking and there's not a soul around to share the day with, and it just all feels a bit like too much of an effort. This is why. This is why we do it. Oh, gorgeous. Look, I've had harvests out this year already. The new potatoes have been beautiful. The broad beans, gorgeous. Garlic and onions I've been using, it's all lovely. But there's something really, really special to me about this tomato-cucumber combination. Because it's such a short season, I'm just going to set that aside momentarily. If you think about it, you know, where are we now? We're coming right towards the end of August. Probably by the end of September we'll almost certainly have the B word. The plants will be past their best. So in the next 4 weeks I will of course be enjoying some fresh, but I'll be bottling like mad. So in a way, these fresh tomatoes, it's that bite of a fresh tomato. 11 months of the year I wait for this moment. It makes it really, really special. Of course I have tomatoes all year round for my bottled tomatoes. And there are other things, obviously things like the broad beans, I eat those throughout the year too because I can freeze them. That doesn't affect their texture. I'm still getting that kind of broad bean bite, and the potatoes will go on for ages, so I still get that bite. But for 11 months of the year I don't have the bite of biting into a fresh tomato. Sorry, I think I'm going on one a bit, aren't I? But honestly, this is, to me, I had a bit of everything in that biteful. Yeah, to me this is the little miracle that happens every year. I'm going to get all weepy now, that's ridiculous, but it is. It's like a little miracle that happens every year. I'm going to love, over the next sort of 4 weeks or so, I'm going to gorge on fresh tomatoes. By about October I'll probably be sick of them. By November I'll be missing them already, and then it'll be a whole nother year to wait. So yeah, make hay while the sun shines and all that. Enjoy your bounty. Sorry, get yourself some cutlery, some bits and bobs of tinware to have in the shed, so you don't have to wait to get home. You can scoff there and then. Oh, heaven. Well, on that note, I really want to finish the rest of this. I need some private time with my food so I can eat like a piggy. Yeah, so thank you ever so much for joining me in the garden today. It's always a pleasure to have you along to chat to as I'm doing my bits and bobs. I'm really salivating, I can't control myself. Yeah, thank you for coming along today. I hope the info about the beans and sort of freezing or drying, I hope that's helped a few of you, because I know there are quite a few folk who are going to try that for the first time this year. Whatever you're up to, just get up to it outside. With a tomato. Heaven. I will see you all again really soon, I hope. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves. Don't make yourself sick on all your tomatoes, but make yourself nearly sick. Gorge, gorge, gorge. I'll see you all again soon. Cheerio. Never mind the goodbyes, I want to get back into this. Oh my goodness. And no, cats, none of this is for you. The cats are prowling, looking at me. Oh gosh, yes. A bit of this, a bit of that. That beautiful little cherry. P.S. Look what Poppy is doing. I think she likes some of the feta. There's nothing quite like relaxing in the shed on a sunny summer's day. On that note, I really am going. Cheerio, everyone. Say bye-bye, Poppy. Poppy, say bye-bye to the people.
Bye-bye.